This story is based on true events, but a touch of imagination has been added for intrigue. This narrative is extremely sensitive and horrifying. Faint-hearted readers should not read it. If you are alone, turn on the lights and pay attention to the sounds around you, because this story will take you to that house where someone remained alive for 4 days after death. Hinterkaifeck, the farmstead where death camped. The secret hidden in the snow. Deep in the dense forests of Bavaria, about 70 kilometers north of Munich, there was a farmstead named Hinterkaifeck. There were no villages nearby, no settlements, just tall pine trees, hills shrouded in fog, and a solitary farmhouse in between. This place was so desolate that it took hours of walking to reach it. In winters, it became even more isolated, a thick blanket of snow cutting it off from the rest of the world. The owner of this farm was Andreas Gruber, a 63-year-old stubborn and cantankerous farmer. His wife, Cecilia, 72 years old, had aged before her time. Living with them was their daughter, Victoria Gabriel, a 35-year-old widow, and her 2 children, 7-year-old Cecilia and 2-year-old Joseph. There was also a maid in the family, but she kept changing frequently. The silence and loneliness here could drive anyone crazy. But there was another dark stain on this family, a secret the villagers whispered about. In 1915, Andreas and his daughter Victoria were tried for incest. They were convicted. There was also a rumor that little Joseph was the son of Victoria and her own father. This shameful secret was a topic of discussion in the village, but no one spoke openly about it. People just looked at this family with strange eyes. It was February 1922. Snow had fallen heavily. One day, Andreas met his neighbor Lorenz Schlittenbauer, who was the head of a nearby village. Worry lines were etched on Andreas's face. "Lorenz, I saw something strange in the snow," Andreas said in a low voice. "Footprints came from the forest side up to my farm, but there are no footprints leading back." Lorenz laughed. "Old man, are you seeing ghosts now? Must have been a wolf." "Wolves don't wear shoes," Andreas said sternly, and walked away. But this was just the beginning. Just a few nights later, Victoria heard footsteps in the attic. The wooden planks on the upper floor were creaking as if someone was walking slowly. Scared, she went and lay down next to her mother. When she told her father in the morning, Andreas scolded her. "You're always making excuses. Must be mice. Mind your own work." But mice don't deliver newspapers. One morning, Andreas found a Munich newspaper lying in his yard. He hadn't bought it, and no one nearby had subscribed to it. How could a newspaper from Munich have reached here? That too soaked in snow, as if someone had deliberately thrown it there. Then one day, the house locks were found broken. Some keys were missing. The previous maid, who had quit 6 months earlier, had said she thought the house was haunted. She had told that at night she felt someone watching her, as if eyes from beyond the walls were fixed on her. But despite all this, Andreas refused to call the police. He was adamant in his stubbornness. "I'm not afraid of anyone. This is my house, my land. No one can harm me." But Victoria could see the fear hidden in his eyes. She was now afraid to sleep alone at night. Little 7-year-old Cecilia had told her mother, "Mother, there's an uncle living in the attic. He cries at night." Victoria silenced the child, but her soul trembled. That night, she decided she would talk to Lorenz. Maybe he could convince her father. The knock of death. March 31st, 1922. Winter was in its final stage, but snow was still frozen in the forests. That day, a new maid arrived at the farm. Her name was Maria Baumgartner, a 44-year-old solitary woman. She was hired for work that very day. She probably didn't know that this was the last day of her life. In the evening, everyone ate together. Andreas was silent, Victoria sad. The children were playing. Maria found the atmosphere heavy, but thought perhaps it was the custom here. At night, everyone went to sleep. Silence prevailed all around the house. Only the sounds of owls echoed in the forest. It must have been around 2 o'clock at night. The barn door creaked open. Andreas heard it, got up, and went to check. Maybe he thought some animal had gotten in. But as soon as he entered the barn, a heavy, sharp weapon, probably a hoe or a pickaxe, struck his head. His skull was scattered in a single blow. He fell right there. Next was Victoria. She had seen her father leave, and when he didn't return, she also went towards the barn. The same weapon finished her. Then old Cecilia, who had just come to the door, was also struck down there. 3 bodies lay on the barn floor, blood seeping into the snow. But the killer didn't stop there. Now he moved towards the house. Inside, 7-year-old Cecilia had probably woken up. She heard the noise and came to look towards the barn. The killer saw her. The little girl was struck, but she didn't die immediately. She remained alive for hours, moaning in pain, pulling out her hair. Her own hair was tangled in her fingernails when the body was found later. The killer then went into the room where 2-year-old Joseph was sleeping in his crib. One single blow. The innocent's life was taken. Finally, there was the maid, Maria. She probably woke up, might have screamed, but in the darkness, no one came to help her. She too was killed with the same hoe. 6 corpses, blood-soaked floor, broken door. And the killer was now alone in that house, among those dead bodies. 4 days of silence. Next morning, April 1st, smoke was rising from the house's chimney. The animals were hungry, so the killer fed them. He milked the cows, fed the chickens. Then he went to the kitchen, lit the stove, and cooked food. He ate, washed the dishes, and then went to work in the garden. Perhaps he was some lost man, or someone who knew this family well. That afternoon, a neighbor, Jacob, came to the farm. He saw smoke coming from the house, and the yard was clean. He thought everything was fine. Maybe Andreas had started work. He left without going inside. April 2nd, a milkman came. He knocked on the door, but no one answered. He thought maybe everyone was in the barn. He left the milk outside and went away. Later, that milk disappeared. The killer must have taken it. April 3rd, a carpenter had come for work. He also knocked on the door, got no answer. He peered through the window and saw dishes lying in the kitchen, but there was no movement. He left. During those 4 days, the killer lived with those 6 corpses. 3 bodies lay in the barn, frozen in the cold. Inside the house, in one room, lay the bodies of the children and the maid. And that man lived among them, kept cooking, kept sleeping, kept taking care of the animals. Did he feel any remorse? Was he mad? Or was he waiting for something? Tuesday, April 4th. 7-year-old Cecilia didn't reach school. No one came to church. Neighbor Lorenz Schlittenbauer found this strange. He, along with 2 companions, headed towards Hinterkaifeck. When they reached near the farm, everything was silent. The house doors were closed. They knocked. No answer. Lorenz pushed the door open. Seeing the scene inside, the ground slipped beneath his feet. Bloodstains on the floor had dried. In one room lay the body of 2-year-old Joseph, a deep wound on his head. Nearby, Maria, the maid, also lay dead. Lorenz screamed. He ran outside, and then they opened the barn door. There lay the bodies of Andreas, Cecilia, and Victoria, fallen near each other, and among them little Cecilia, who had probably died last. In her hands were her own hair, which she had torn in agony. Lorenz and his companions were completely stunned, but before the police could be called, dozens of villagers gathered there. Evidence was trampled, traces were erased. By the time the police arrived, the crime scene was completely contaminated. Who was that man? The investigation began. The police saw that there was considerable cash in gold in the house, which hadn't even been touched. Robbery couldn't be the motive. Then why were 6 people killed so brutally? The first suspicion fell on Lorenz Schlittenbauer. He had a relationship with Victoria, and he claimed that little Joseph was his son. He had a key to the house and was the first person to find the bodies. Did he orchestrate all this? But he had no clear motive. He wanted to marry Victoria, and Andreas's death would have benefited him. But could he have been so cruel as not to spare even a 7-year-old girl? Then there was Karl Gabriel, Victoria's husband, who had gone missing in World War I. His body was never found. Was he alive? Did he return and find out that his wife was living with her father? Did he take revenge? But if he were alive, where would he have hidden for so many years? Then there was that incest case. Did some relative or villager want to avenge this disgrace?